Welcome to Swing State University, a college golf and lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, James Boone, and joining us this week is the founder of CxffeeBlack, Bartholomew Jones. This is your first time joining Swing State University. We just want to give you a little bit of backstory. As the talent pool in the college game continues to deepen, we're trying to give those guys more exposure, the ideas for guys to come in, learn about their story, hear about their journey, encourage them, and then send them out back to their teams and schools as they get going in tournament play. The college golf season doesn't start until late February, early March. And so we have some time in between to get a little bit creative. We wanted to start exploring things that interest us. And by we, I mean me. And by interest us, I mean things that interest myself. And so I've really enjoyed over the past 10 years getting into coffee, exploring that. And we're going to start interviewing different brands that have exposure to both the coffee industry and then also sport of golf. To kick off this 3-part series, we want to welcome into the show the co-founder and one of the coolest brands in coffee right now, and that's CxffeeBlack. CxffeeBlack is a community-oriented, multidisciplinary, education-based coffee company founded in 2019 by husband and wife team Bartholomew Jones and Renata Henderson. This social enterprise's mission is to return coffee to its African roots and in the process create an equitable Black future. CxffeeBlack became a trailblazer in the coffee industry by creating an entirely all-Black coffee supply chain from Ethiopia to Memphis, the first of its kind. In addition to their brand new storefront that opened this past month in Memphis, Tennessee, as well as their vast selection of personally roasted coffee beans, CxffeeBlack serves the community through the AGCC, the Barista Exchange Program, and their Specialist in Training Program, which teaches coffee skills and provides career development to local community members. The recognition over the past 4 years has been insane. In 2023, CxffeeBlack was awarded Best Film in Coffee by Sprudge Media. The following year, in 2024, CxffeeBlack was deemed Global Roaster of the Year and was the inaugural recipient of the Innovator of the Year award given by the Coffee Coalition by Racial Equity. This past year in 2025, CxffeeBlack was recognized as Memphis's favorite coffee roaster, and most recently was nominated for the world's 100 best coffee shops by Da Vinci Gourmet. The collaborations have been even crazier. Featured in Vice, on NPR, The Hill, and Black Enterprise. They've collaborated with Mir, Oatly, Armazoko, NBA player Jayshawn Tate, shout out to the Houston Rockets, Starline Fest, and recently began roasting for hip-hop legend 8Ball for his new coffee brand. And at this point, you're probably asking yourself the question, this is cool and all, but what does this have to do with the game of golf? To which I would respond, I'm glad you asked. For the past 2 years, the PGA Tour has selected CxffeeBlack to be its primary coffee vendor for one of the season's largest events, the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and the first round of the PGA Playoffs, which features the top 70 players on tour and garners over 80,000 patrons annually. For the collaboration, CxffeeBlack released a limited edition collection of coffee-themed merchandise. Despite all the accolades and recognition, I don't know anyone else personally that has had the same influence on the way myself and many others have viewed leadership, running a business, leading a family, serving the community, and faithfully following God's leading than our guest today. It's with great honor I welcome to the show co-owner of CxffeeBlack, MC, and friend, Bartholomew Jones. Welcome to the show.
Come on, bro. Yeah, what an intro. Let's get it. That's fire. Thank you so much, bro. It's an honor to be here with you, man. Come on, I'm here with a child of God. Let's get it.
Come on. There's about 4 million ways this conversation could go, but we'll start here. I know you're joining us from the shop, the new space y'all just opened up this past month. Do you want to talk about how the last month has been, opening up the new shop? And then, I mean, I know a little bit about your journey in opening it, what it took to get it off the ground. What's that look like for y'all?
Man, the last month has been insane. Sales were crazy. I think God is funny, bro. I've been saying God is dramatic. And we knew opening because we've been working on this space for 4 years, man. And so it's, we had 400, 500 plus people invest their own money, community members, neighbors, industry leaders, people from all over. So we knew there was going to be excitement. But we opened up. The street was cut off because the city decided to do construction. It was pretty much right in the holiday season. And so the last 4 weeks we were slammed. Sales were up 348% in the shop from the previous location. It was crazy, bro. So we're just now kind of catching a break to actually catch our breath and start working on systems and part lists and inventory lists and that kind of stuff. But I mean, it was fun, bro. It was just like, yo, it's time to go. We passed the inspection. It was the health inspection, which was the last one, and then we were just off to the races, man. So people, we couldn't keep anything in stock. We just got Gold Brew back in stock for like the first time in almost a month. So yeah, man, it was insane. It was insane. It was such a blessing, and it was so cool to see guys flex like that. Like it was like truly an honor to do it. The process of getting here is it's gotta be a book or a movie, or we gotta do something with it. But I mean, it was, you could pick a thing that happened and it pretty much happened. All the good stuff that makes a good movie, some heists, some betrayal, heartbreak, sickness, death, all the good dramatic elements were present, and it made it that much sweeter by the time we finally got here and did the ribbon cutting ceremony. Man, it was like truly a victory to see God just flex like that, man.
Mm.
Yeah, man, we're here now. So I think it's like 2:30 right now. I don't know, but like we got maybe an hour and a half left of service. The team is doing a great job. We're slowly opening up our side yard. We've got a beautiful space outside for folks. So yeah, man,
Mhm.
just living a dream, man. Right now, just right at my coffee shop. I think it's a really cool feeling. We were doing so many other things around the world, from the supply chain work to the
Mhm.
documentary work to the collaborations, to actually just, get in the flow of just running a coffee shop is actually a big relief. Like it's a good
Yeah.
switch of pace to be in the same place every day. I think being able to just hand something really well crafted to whoever walks in the door and to treat them like family and make sure they know that they're welcome back whenever they feel like it. Sounds really simple, but it actually is like we feel very honored to be able to do that from our neighborhood.
Like you said, 4 years in the making. I think of even I read off that resume and I read off that rap sheet, and it seems like highs, 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 these kind of
Yeah.
huge, like, mountaintop moments,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and it sounds
Yep.
kinda glamorous, but can you
Sure.
even
It
take
ain't look glamorous though. If you was in this joint, it did not. Oh, it was not,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? We was definitely in Memphis. You know what I'm saying? We was definitely in the hood in North Memphis. Just trying to follow God, bro. And it was all the things that come with it. I told somebody we got to be the most Memphis coffee shop in the multiverse. Like, what other coffee shop got ops? You know what I'm saying? You really outside beefing with folks trying to get hoodies back that got robbed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's insane, man. We had one of the things that wasn't on the list, which by the way, you guys send me that list. That was a good list. We
Yeah, I
had to
get it
update the
too.
website. But yeah, one of the things that we that wasn't on there was that we are featured on this new PBS documentary series called Coffee the Universal Language. They go to
Mm,
different coffee shops around the country and kind of feature a particular roaster and talk a little bit about the history and feature some other coffee shops as well. So they're on season 2 now, and they came to Memphis and they featured us, and they were in the process of us kind of finishing up the last pieces of the build out, the last couple inspections, and they kind of said the same thing. They're like, we see online, we see on Instagram,
mm,
all the highs, and it looks like you guys have just had all this success. But you pull up to the hood in North Memphis and you see the reality of our community, and we are in that community. We're not like in the South. Like my wife and I contextually do incarnational ministry. So we like mentor, live, go to church, go to work, all in the same community. And so the reason for that is because we feel like if we're experiencing the reality of it, then we could be more invested in the solutions for the problems versus kind of commuting in, dropping off a couple of goodies and leaving at 5. And yeah, man, it was they were shocked. They were like, wow, we didn't know that you guys, even while they were here, they were like, yo, they're seeing, just the way my wife is our lead roaster. She's the majority owner of the business. Shout out Renata Henderson. And seeing the way that, she can be disregarded and treated even by people who are supposed to be city officials and working on our behalf. It's like mind blowing to them because again, they're like, yo, this brand is globally known and recognized, but for better or worse, man, one of the things about doing such a niche thing is that like it's a if you know kind of industry. And so if you don't know, you really don't know. And it's just like you get you like anybody else, if not worse. And so, them seeing that was such a like, we could have put our coffee shop downtown. I got offers to put coffee shops in Rwanda or New York or, Wisconsin or LA or Seattle. And we were committed to doing this work. We felt God was clear. He wanted us to do this work in Memphis in our neighborhood first. And to everything else will come out of here because this is something that he wants our neighbors, the young men we work with, the young women we work with, to know what's possible in our communities and from the people who are in our communities. And so they were like, yo, this is kind of crazy. Do y'all go through this all the time? I was like, oh, you're seeing the light stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing yeah, this is not bad, to be honest. This is a light day compared to what it has been in the previous season. Man, we could pick up we could pick a problem, you know what I mean? And kind of zoom in on so many different ones. And it at the end of the day, it grew my faith, bro. Like I feel like it grew my faith and my confidence in my Heavenly Father and in the power of the blood of his son in a way that I had never, I could verbalize it. Yes, I believe this, but it's different after you've been tested, and tested again and again and again and again. And that kind of confidence, it just hit different. It's a very different kind of knowing. I think the Greek term is you got gnosis, which is knowledge, and then you got epignosis, which is experiential knowledge. And like, yeah, the epignosis hit different, man. It's a different kind of knowing. And it's a different kind of peace. That,
Yeah.
After you've been through some storms with Yeshua, being able to look a storm in the face and smile is a different feeling. But I also think we need that, like, especially the way the world is right now. We need the children of God to be able to truly walk with the peace of God and show other people how to find it.
Yeah, the kind of the paradoxical nature of seeing an easy button, like an easy way out of you talk about people in New York, Seattle, Wisconsin, wherever being like, "Hey, like just let's like up and leave
Nashville,
and do that." Yeah,
yeah,
Nashville, wherever.
Houston, yo, we got a spot for you. We'd love for you to, and then you're here and you're like, bro, feeling so disrespected, disregarded, dishonored in a place where you feel like of all people you would expect to feel that. But the Bible says, man, like a prophet is without honor in his own home. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying? And like part of the reality is, I don't know if it's like this in the golf world, but when you're a specialist in a specialty industry, one, nobody owes you anything in life. You know what I'm saying? Like we're sinners saved by grace. So nobody owes me or my wife anything. Um, but human decency. And I think beyond that, you expect to be, you know, treated like you're when you're working hard on something, sometimes people can't see that,
Mhm,
they don't see and they don't have to, and to some
mhm.
extent, why would they? Like people have their own lives, they have their own hurts. And so, when we're in a neighborhood that is built on a red line, and like has these divisions of the war on drugs, and even previous to this was the site for a former cotton plantation. Like there's so
Mhm.
much trauma and so many scars that like us doing this hyper niche, super rare specialty boutique coffee, it's kind of like, I don't care. I can understand, you know what I'm saying? Why somebody would like not care. You're an inspector and you got a million places you got to go to. And, the fact that we want to keep our business in Memphis and grow
Mhm.
the economy here. Yeah, for sure. But like, they're like, I got 20 other calls after this. Why should I treat you any different than anybody else? And so I think that it's just a part of keeping yourself humble, man. Because when you speak on a stage, you do a TED talk, you speak at an industry event, whatever, and people are like, they're excited and they're willing to listen. That's cool, but that's not really reality. You know what I'm saying? For that's a moment. But like, man, I love Memphis, bro. I love being in a country place with country people doing
Yeah.
country things, because at the end of the day, that's the experience that so many people who are growing our coffee experience on a day-to-day basis times a million, And so like, even if on a small level, we're able to keep close proximity to suffering, it allows us to be closer to the people of God and to so many people who on our planet don't have access to so many of the
Yeah.
accoutrements, you know what I'm saying, that people are kind of used to it, that you may experience when you're doing something on a really high level on a stage. But like, man, day-to-day basis, man, like
Mhm.
people are people, and sometimes you got to suffer a little bit to make sure you remember that. And I think that that's not fun, but I also think that that is, in a lot of ways, what the world needs more of, especially in America. Like, we forget how good we have it until, you
Mhm.
get a little reality check sometimes. Sometimes it'll be a reality check to the chin. But
Is that y'all's head roaster in the back?
that is our head roaster in the back, Renata Henderson.
Oh, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's important, man, even for my kids, bro. Like I remember, we still in our neighborhood. We show love to our neighborhood. And so, them being able to see our neighbors come in and they're like, man, okay, like what's going on here? And you're seeing people from all kinds of socioeconomic backgrounds and being like, son, this is why we doing it. We want young men in our community who maybe they don't see people building their own businesses. They get to see somebody who looks like them starting something, building something, going through that process. And it's just as important for you to be able to talk to, you know, Propaganda or Derek Minor or whatever, you know, Christian hip hop artist who's coming in and visiting, like, and feel cool that you get to see somebody whose music you listen to. Like, yeah, but like, man, we should show just as much love to our neighbor if you've
Yeah,
never
that's
heard
good.
or met them before. Like, we're all just sinners in the hand of God, man. So,
Mm,
like, our opportunity and our joy is the opportunity to show hospitality and show love, regardless of who you are, because we know whose you are. And I think that
yeah.
the kids seeing us live that out on a day to day basis, I think hopefully they take that with them when the Lord leads them to build whatever it is He has for them to build.
Kind of with that, do you have any examples that come to mind that are kind of in your immediate network of folks that you've been able to influence, maybe a younger generation coming up in North
Hmm.
Memphis, like where Coffee Black is?
Marianne Champion, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, come on, bro. You said you can't spell coffee black without the O.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think, man, that I'm so proud of this young man. He was actually like our first employee. You know, when we moved into the neighborhood with our church, we were like, you know, really important to you know, mentor kids, be accessible, especially as a married couple. You know, sometimes people haven't seen marriage. You know what I mean? Like, and so we would do barbecues, hot dogs, Bible studies at the house all the time, and man, Marianne would just consistently be there, constantly kicking it, asking questions. I would make him coffee. He's like,
Yeah,
now I know that he was lying, but he used to say he liked it, you know what I'm saying? But for him, it was like, I just like being around this family.
yeah.
And so when the business started going viral in 2020, 2019, you know, he was right there beside us, helping us do ship orders, fulfill packages, bag up the coffee. And, you know, now he's 21, he got his own home, he's got a car, you know, he's a leader in his own right in the business. Has been able to travel all around the country with us, host people from all around the world with us.
Mm.
And speaking of the young man right here, you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
he's just doing truly a phenomenal job.
that's
He's
cool.
actually leading and helping to run our fulfillment agency and run a lot of the packaging fulfillment for orders around the world. And, you
Let's
know,
go.
like
Oh,
I couldn't think of a better example of a young man who's really like taken everything we've had and went to the next level with it. And I think that's why like there's so much potential and value in our communities. I think sometimes we miss that because it doesn't look like what people say you should be looking for when you're looking for values. And my thing
yeah.
is, bruh, we got to ask God because I would rather agree with God and let everybody else catch up. Like if I'm
Mm,
on what he's on and I'm in alignment with him, then I feel good about it. This is a good investment, you know, and the Lord has said so clearly that he loves people who are close to him and people who are close to uh meekness and
yeah.
all of the things in the world that like, no, we think about Yeshua. Yeshua didn't even have a home. You know what I mean? And this is where he found himself and he intentionally placed himself. And man, I think that there's a lot of opportunities in cities like Memphis and places like Memphis. You know, it's interesting even when you think about golf, the last couple of years doing coffee for the PGA tournament, PGA Tour tournament. I learned there's a
Yeah.
difference. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they were like, hey, it's PGA Tour. It's a difference. You know, oh, okay, cool. Good to know. But yeah, doing it, bro, is seeing how even in that space, there's like people who are making really intentional efforts to provide access to something as specialty as like, you know, professional golf. Like there's programs like the First Tee program here in Memphis that are looking
Mhm.
to bring more education and awareness. And oftentimes, bro, you know, that's where the future is. You know what I'm saying? Is the future, the closer we get to the roots, to the soil, the closer we're willing to put our hands into the dirt and be close to where the Lord is really growing things, bro, you
Mhm.
find things you never would expect. And so, like, yeah, man, there's a lot of innovation and things like that that I think some of our best ideas have come from just talking to folks in our community, and being willing to listen.
That's good.
Um, you know, it's cool to talk to the industry nerds and you know, talk about extraction theory and pull the refractometer out and see what the total dissolved solids in the liquid is and experimental fermentations and all that. Like that's fun, but like sometimes it just takes being willing to hear what your neighbor is saying, and that could lead to better market innovation than any like industry conference could teach you.
Wow. Talking about oh, that makes me think of this is like a super this is like the most simple idea ever, but people lingering where the love is. And so kind of
Yeah.
someone like us, like, hey, whether or not I like coffee at all, it's like, well, these people love me and they give me attention, they give me affirmation, they give me encouragement. So like I'm gonna keep being in the mix. And I feel like that's a really good representation of what the church should look like. Of like, hey, I
Yeah.
if I'm an outsider coming into this space, like I may or not kind of agree with everything that's going on right here. But like these people treat me so much better than what I see out there. So I think that's
Hmm.
amazing.
And I think it's something like, I think honestly, it's us building out the business strategy and the product listing that could allow us to access a greater segment of the market. Coffee is a $500 billion industry globally. Specialty coffee is less than 1% of the coffee sold on the planet. And so when you're talking about the, cupping score 88, 89, 91 point
Mm,
natural Ethiopian micro lot, like that's coffee itself is already an acquired taste. Now we're talking about the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the coffee sold on the planet, and
wow,
you're expecting to be able to make a living on that. To be honest, like most people don't really have a reason to care, and so I
that's
think
a good
us
point.
learning to build a posture of listening actually taught us the right posture and the right framing to be able to take what we love and what is good about what we love with something like specialty coffee and introduce it and give it to people who maybe would not have considered it otherwise. And so, all the market research is saying Gen Z isn't drinking specialty coffee. Specialty coffee shops are struggling. Coffee shop, I mean, Starbucks is closing 400. Whether or not we consider Starbucks specialty coffee
Sure.
shops like Starbucks just closed 400 locations, blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of research is saying, hey, this is not a booming industry. And yet, I just told you our sales up
Yeah.
358% in the cafe, 89% year over year growth. Like this is happening because as much as we want people to listen to what we love, we're willing to love the people we're listening to. And I think the marriage of those two things, grandma always said, God don't make no junk. Like, being able to allow the reasoning God has behind putting things in proximity to occur naturally versus trying to force our own perspective on our community has led to a kind of customer base that is almost willing to try anything we serve through the door. And at the same time, they come with suggestions and ideas. And we really do approach it like a collaborative hip hop track. Yo, okay, what's the word? The word is aromatic. All right, everybody drop a bar off aromatic. You know what I'm saying? You kick a rhyme, I'm gonna kick a rhyme. And that's the song. And so like as much as we have our own passions, being willing to create space and leave room for other people to do the same and for new ideas to be birthed. I mean, that's where Gold Brew came from. Was like
Mm,
in our community. I love the citrus and the plurality of a beautiful washed Ethiopian coffee. And I got neighbors or artists who are coming in working with us and they're like, I can't taste that. So how do I show you what I love in a way that
mm,
you can contextualize? And so, well, what if we added honey to enhance the natural sweetness and, lemon solids to give a boost to the zest. And, also the honey is local. So there's some of the white flowers from like what the bees pollinated present. And you Japanese flash chill the Ethiopian coffee to give the maximum flavor profile possible and put that together. Now it's Gold Brew. And people are like, oh, wow, I see what you're talking about. Now we have a reference point as we work backwards to a pour over or, a
mm,
double shot of espresso or a long black or whatever. And, that becomes a roadmap for collaboration and for appreciation for our passions. And, that came from just listening to my neighbors, listening to other artists who are in Memphis. And I think that's innovation, right? That didn't come from me looking at market research studies. That came from me looking at my neighbors and seeing their perspective and their voices worthwhile and valuable,
mm,
especially in a city like Memphis, bro, where I think so much of what the history of Memphis is like perspectives that are rooted in kind of colloquialisms and physical
yes.
labor and so on and so forth, which is there. Like even now, Memphis is a logistic city, but I think the people of Memphis and their ideas are equally, if not more interesting. And like places like Memphis have something to offer. Even going to the PGA Tour, the St. Jude Classic that happens,
Mm,
St. Jude FedEx Classic is like, you see people coming from all over the world to a place like Memphis, and there's a sense of pride. And then for us to be there serving coffee is kind of like,
yeah.
doubling up on that. It's like, bro, there are beautiful things here. So seeing people come in from all over the world, they're flying in, they come in, I'm serving them this flat white with like a candy yam reduction with local honey and whoopty whoopty whoop. And they're like, this is the best coffee I've ever had in my life. And you're like, and they had that coffee in Memphis. I think that's dope. Like that
Yeah.
makes me get hyped. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
and yo, this young man who's serving it to you grew up in our
Yes.
community and he's your
Yes.
barista today. And, yeah, have we worked with brands all over the world and trained with some of the best baristas on the planet? For sure. But they're developing and growing and seeing talent that's here in Memphis. And I think that matters. I think it matters in an industry like golf. It matters in an industry like specialty
Mhm.
coffee. I think it matters to God.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
You touched on it, and we don't have to talk about that this in depth, but you kind of talked about the supply chain, who's consuming the coffee. You talk about it being, I think you said, was it $500 billion industry?
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. I'm trying to get there. Give me 2%. You know what I'm saying? I don't need
That's
a
just
lot.
2%.
I don't need a lot, bro. I need a slice.
Give me 0.02.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you, again, we don't have 3 hours because I feel like it's something that you could talk about forever.
Yeah,
But like
sure.
talk about the supply chain. Like, what are some themes that are happening in coffee? I know prices have been going up.
Hmm.
What does that look like?
Yeah, man. I mean, coffee is an agricultural product first and foremost. So it is seasonal. It's something that is grown every year and harvested and exported and imported into the country and then roasted and sold to you. And it is the seed of a tropical African fruit that was discovered in 850 AD and then spread around the world via trade, but mostly colonialism, especially once the Dutch get involved in 1616. And it's mostly mass produced via, forced labor on indigenous people and African peoples around the world.
Mhm.
And right now, the way the industry has moved is that most of the research is saying in 60 harvests or so, we won't have coffee, so to speak, which, moment of silence for coffee, man.
No
We
doubt.
I'm gonna miss it. But I think that there's a lot of nuances with that. So first, when we say coffee, what species of coffee are we talking about? We're talking about Arabica, which you've probably seen in the grocery store, 100% Arabica. That is the original species that was taken out of Ethiopia into Yemen and then taken from Yemen into like the Dutch spice trade and moved through a bunch of other colonial empires, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the British, anywhere where it would grow across the equatorial line there. But man, like that is a species that has been kind of like really pushed to its limits globally
Yes.
through like
Yes.
monocropping. And then also, I think, grown very unsustainably, focusing on mass production as well throughout all these
Mhm.
multiple biomes that it's been forced to grow in. So it's like, okay, yeah, maybe Arabica won't be as plenteous. The harvests are consistently decreasing. Global warming is growing. It's getting harder and harder to grow the coffee. So the coffee has to be grown. Mostly coffee, the best coffee is grown at high elevations. They keep having to go higher and higher up the mountains and do consistent fertilizers or manipulation of the genetics of the plant itself to make it continue to bear fruit. So it's just getting more and more difficult, especially outside of its indigenous land, which would be like Ethiopia, Sudan. So yeah, a lot of that coffee is becoming more and more scarce.
Quick follow up after that. Like, I drink. I mean, I literally, we have a 5 pound bag of the Gucci Gold right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Pro,
for sure. Shout out
like
to
from me,
AYG. He's amazing producer.
amazing. Some of the best coffee I ever had.
Hmm.
I drink a cup, 2 cups a day, and we'll probably continue to do that for I guess as long as maybe it's the next generation this year or whatever. But am I a cog in the wheel? Am I kind of my consumption of that thing that I enjoy? Am
Yeah, I don't
I
think
What's that look like?
that's a hard question to answer, man, because I think that part of the issue is not just the consumption of the coffee. It's not that we're over consuming it. It's that the way we're consuming it and how much we're paying for it and the conditions that we want to be able to consume it in is unsustainable.
Mm,
And so it's eroding the soil, it's eroding the communities who are producing it. Like, we talked about a lot of the ecological issues, but there's humanitarian issues as well. Like,
yeah.
where did y'all grow up in the United States?
Yeah, Kentucky, Murray, Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yeah. So did you have how many generations back? Did you have any
Totally.
ancestors who were farmers?
Yeah, totally, totally.
Okay, so if you had they might have been sharecroppers. You know what I'm saying? But if you had grandparents, great grandparents who were in agriculture, clearly you are not anymore. And I would say it probably was an intentional choice by your parents and grandparents is to build a trajectory for you to not have to work the soil anymore because it's hard, right? Like my grandparents were farmers, great
Mhm.
grandparents, sharecroppers on my mom's side. On my dad's side, proudly says they were not sharecroppers. So yeah, shout out to great granddaddy Alexander. But
Yeah.
there's a difficulty there, and I think that like we're human beings. We want the best for our kids. The same is true for coffee producers. Like, and to think about it, bro, people are getting paid less than 3 cents a cup for the cups that we're buying. The farmers making so little right now. Even in the global industry, Africa makes less than 1% of that $500 billion a year. Even though coffee was discovered in Africa, grown by African slaves all over the world, like this is just not what most people want for their kids. Now, are there farmers who that's not the case for? Yeah, a lot of the farmers, particularly the ones we work with and folks in the specialty coffee industry, are trying to change that. But again, that's less than 1% of the coffee consumed on the planet. It's hard. And I think that a lot of people are moving on. Their kids are trying to get into tech. The kids are maybe trying to get into entertainment, social media. They want to move away from that. And so, on top of all of the ecological issues we discussed, the human desire for flourishing, like people are not experiencing that. And a lot of these mega corporations that, think about a company like Nestle, like which was just recently involved in a scandal. And then we think about even Starbucks recently was exposed
Mhm.
for having forced slave labor in Brazil for the coffee that they're harvesting. Like people, these companies are built on these razor thin margins for the cost of their coffee. The model, the economic model, is not really built
Yeah.
to allow the people. The industry itself was founded on slave labor, right? So it's built on free labor, so 0% cost on
Yeah.
labor for the growth of the coffee.
That's
And we've
margins,
slowly
yeah.
transitioned to try to move that into mechanized labor, especially in countries in Vietnam and Brazil, some of the biggest exporters of coffee on the planet. Coffee is not really a crop that can be grown sustainably via like, these really huge, fat, low level mechanized farms. You know what I'm saying? It is something
Mm,
that at its best form is going to be carefully curated and produced. It's an art form. And so like, we have to be willing to change the way that we're willing to pay for coffee, like your fair wage coffee, even up to
yeah.
last year, like when we talk about fair trade coffee, it was like a buck 80 a pound. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And the amount of labor it takes to produce, again, if you have any friends, relatives, ancestors who were in producing a pound of any type of seed, you know what I'm saying? Think about the amount of harvest that has to go into that. You're getting a buck 80 for it. It's just like and they call it fair trade, but isn't we pay about 3 times what the fair trade price is
Totally.
per pound
Yeah.
to farmers. And we're really trying to build a model that's built on profit margin versus like market manipulation. And not getting nerd out on like but a lot of it, how people determine the price of coffee, but a lot of it is based on how much the cheapest coffee on the planet is, and we kind of go from there. So what's happening in Vietnam and Brazil is going to determine the market for most other farmers, and that becomes the baseline price. And then you have to show huge gaps in quality differences to be able to kind of negotiate a higher price. I don't believe that's sustainable. I think what we should be doing is talking to farmers and asking them, what is your assessment of the worth of your time, and what's the margin you need to make as a business owner to be able to take care of you and your family, and then I have to make an assessment as a business owner whether or not me and my customers can engage with the crop or with the harvest at that price point. And if we can build a world where like we're both making the margins we need to take care of our families, like let's sell the coffee at that price. And that's the kind of coffee that you're
That's great.
consuming when you consume a Gucci Gold. So I would say that coffee is not the problem. The problem is the
That's
fact
great.
that most people in America are living check to check, and
Yeah.
we can't afford to pay, or we think we can afford to pay more for something that at
Mm.
the gas station we could get for 89 cents a cup, even if it's
Right.
bad for you. And, the FDA says it can have 10% roach particles. It's like, yo, people are
Yeah.
really just trying to make it. Most people are just trying to make it. And so I think we really need to be willing to take a look at not just our communities and our
Mhm.
business models, but our economic systems to say, what is it that God has said should be happening, and how can we backwards plan from that
Mhm.
into systems that are going to really be sustainable? Because the rate we're moving at, like I said, at least for the species Arabica, it may not be here in the way that we are used to it being here in 60
Mhm.
years or 60 harvests. And then, praise be to God, bro, there's 119 other species indigenous on the African planet. A few
Mhm.
of them have been grown around the world, species like Liberica or Conifera. A Finnish, we actually have our new assistant general manager is like a expert. He's done his master's work researching like global coffee varietals, species specifically. But there are other options. But again, if this is the model, we're just gonna max the people out, max the plan out and try to just squeeze the last drop of profit. Like we're gonna be back if we are able to find a sustainable replacement, we're gonna be back in the same scenario in 100 years. You know what I'm saying? So I think we really have to be willing to reconsider. And that's why I love the Bible, bro. I think the Bible is a great model for just about everything on the planet. And like even agriculturally, when we study the year of Jubilee and the idea of giving rest and forgiving debt and being willing to care for our neighbor and leave margin, like these are the kinds of models that I think we need to be exploring as businessmen of the future, to look at models that are not built on overconsumption, but that are built on generosity, that are built on care, that are going to be built on love of neighbor. Because these are the ones that our kids and grandkids will still be able to participate in, versus this kind of really aggressive rush to the top or rush to the bottom,
Yeah.
depending on how you determine it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I love the Bible. That would also make a great tagline for this episode.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. Come on, man.
I love the
Yeah,
Bible. It's
I
true.
love the
Amen.
Bible, man. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
We're gonna close with a Swing State 6-pack, and I'm just gonna
Okay.
say, brought to you by the Gold Brew Rose Gold Brew by Coffee Black. We're gonna
Hard.
go
That's hard.
6 questions, rapid fire. Bart hasn't seen any of these, so we'll get to it and knock it out.
Okay, let's get it.
So, Quay, question number 1: favorite way to drink coffee right now?
Pour over. Yeah. It's still a pour over, bro. I'm brewing with the V60 Hario Switch, the Mir Standard Carafe, which is like a new take on the Chemex, and really have been enjoying the UFO brewer that's sold by Slow Pour Supply. You can really get really aggressive on
Yeah,
extraction, pull some really beautiful notes, a lot of sweetness out of the coffee. So yeah, those have kind of been my go-to as of late.
awesome.
Yeah.
This
Oh, and
next one,
Time More just sent us like a conical brewer as well, beach-shaped brewer that has been really interesting. I don't remember the name of it. It's beautiful. It looks kind of like a diamond, but I've been enjoying using those. Those are go-to every time. Pour over.
question number 2, and this may be a little controversial, so don't step on nobody's toes. But least favorite way to drink coffee?
I don't like
Oh,
cold brew. I'm sorry. I'm looking at a cold brew of Gucci Gold, which was actually beautiful. It came out like a wine, but I would say that like it is an exception. Most times, if there's a coffee I like, I would just rather have a pour over and make like a Japanese flash chill ice pour over, or even like a Arachino, like an aerated shot of espresso over ice. I rock with that more than cold brew. You know, I'm sorry. Shout out to all the cold brew people. You know what I mean? We got it for you if you like it. It's fire, but it's not my preferred way to drink it.
question number 3, you shouted out a couple different brands just a minute ago, but what's a coffee brand that we should be aware of heading into 2026?
Man, that's a good question. I am personally always a big fan of like getting into pour overs. I like the UFO as a brewer a lot. So if you're looking into like, kind of pushing extraction, the UFO is really, really good. We have another brand we rock with called Ghost Town Oats for our oat milk. And it's made by baristas, like championship baristas. And it's like so creamy. Sometimes oat milk is weird. So I've really been enjoying like milk that actually textures well and kind of
Yeah.
gives that same velvetyness to it. Roasters. Who have I been? I've been drinking a lot of our coffee lately, but there's a brand called Cafe Solo out of Colombia. They're vertically integrated, so they're farmers. We buy from them, but they're also baristas. They own several cafes, and they're researchers in Paris. And like, man, we actually do like compare roast profiles with them on the coffees. And so I would definitely say check out Cafe Solo online, or Solo Cafe, depending on how you frame the syntax. But
Sure.
they're super dope. Shout out to Mario and the Dulce family. I would definitely say check them out. They did a roast of their Gesha that he brought a few bags of last time he visited, and that thing was beautiful.
Question number 4, dream foursome. So if you're going out playing a round of golf for 4 hours, you have 3 people who can join you. Who are 3 people that you'd want to hang out with for 4 hours on the golf course?
Oh man, I say me. Just because it'd be hilarious, the OG propaganda. I would love to see Prop on the course. I probably bring Taylor. Taylor is avid golfer, part of our community. Taylor James, and they're big into golf. And I think I'd bring my boy Steven Zinnerman. That'd be a lot of fun. And yeah, Cat Williams. Let's throw my guy in there. He's been big at the last couple of PGA Tour
Let's
events
go.
in Memphis. So I think that'd be a blast, man.
Yeah, that's a good crew. That's a good
Yeah.
crew. All right, question 5 and 6. We'll wrap up real quick. So question 5: who is one person that you'd love to have swing by the shop in 2026?
Man, let's get Keith Lee out here, bro. I'm trying to get my man into a coffee drinker. He's an avid not coffee drinker. And man, let's get Keith Lee some coffee, bro. I think that'd be really dope.
Question 6: what are you most excited about for Coffee Black in 2026?
New threshold, bro. I think I'm excited about like growing our this is really nerdy, but our staff benefits, like the benefit program. We got a lot of families who are working with us. And as we're growing our input in the community, like I want to be able to invest more back into our team. That's something we're really passionate about. It's one of our key goals. And yeah, pouring more into the farmers we work with and the team who makes all this possible on the ground here. Like those are 2 big goals for 2026 for us.
Swing State 6-pack brought to you by the Gold Brew and Rose Gold Brew, Coffee Black, Bartholomew
Yeah.
Jones. Thank you so much, brother, for hopping on.
This is so dope, man. Yeah, honored to be here. Anytime this brother hits me up, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with it, James. Going in the building, baby. Let's get it.